Hello, and welcome to today's episode. I'm going to be your host, the Irrelevant Nerd, and today we're going to be reviewing Peacemaker Season 2. I've had some time to reflect and process the finale, and I'm finally ready to talk about the season. The finale came out about 2 weeks ago now, maybe about a week and a half ago now at this point. And the first part of this video is going to be spoiler free, but there is some stuff near the end of the season that I do want to talk about. So there is going to be a spoiler section at the end, but I will of course give a very clear spoiler warning, and I'll put a marker down below that clearly mark when the spoilers begin and when they end. So we'll obviously start with the spoiler-free section, even though there are going to be some reviews or some spoilers for Season 1. So if you haven't seen it, I'm going to not go into it in depth. I'm just going to reference some things that have happened. So if you haven't seen it, there is a light spoiler warning for Season 1. So this season starts a couple years after the first season, but we're not given an exact time frame, as Peacemaker is sort of shifting from the continuity of the DCEU to the continuity of the DCU, which I guess just kind of comes with the territory when you have like a pick and choose soft reboot, which is a little annoying, and I don't like the way that they're doing it as much as I do enjoy that we are getting more Peacemaker. I just think that if you're going to reboot it, either reboot it or don't. But anyways, we do know, even though we don't know how many years it's been since the first season, we do know it takes place about a month after the new Superman movie, and it shows how the entire team from the first season is moving forward after, Project Butterfly, like their mission from the first season, and dealing with the alien invasion, and also dealing with the fallout of Adebayo spilling all the beans on Amanda Waller, like at the very, very end of the season 1, and it shows how that's affected certain members of the team. And really, everybody from the first season is all struggling in their own way, but still staying connected as, I don't know, this just fucked up little family and trying to help each other when they can. It's something that James Gunn very clearly loves to do. He likes taking the misfits and bringing them all together to create that camaraderie, and it's nice to see. And Peacemaker is now living in his dad's house and is basically partying his life away. And one night he drunkenly stumbles into his dad's like quantum unfolding chamber, where he had all of like the Peacemaker helmets and all of the White Dragon gear from the first season. And of course, when he drunkenly stumbles into there, multiversal shenanigans ensue, which I don't consider a spoiler. It's in the trailers and really kind of the basic setup for the season. And honestly, this is some of the most fun I've had with like the multiversal shtick in a comic book movie or show in probably a couple years. Like even Deadpool and Wolverine, as fun as it is, it just feels like it's done for the sake of cameos, where this, I don't know, it feels really cool. But we'll start with the good from Season 1 or from Season 2, and very similar to Season 1, these really just are such fun characters, and I like to spend this time with them. And the character progression that Peacemaker goes throughout Season 1 and 2 is actually pretty beautiful. Just especially when you see where he was in James Gunn's Suicide Squad movie. The way he's grown is really nice to see, especially because when they initially announced the show, I was like, really? Like this fucking guy? But it's beautiful. Season 2, it does have enough twists and turns to stay exciting, but not but not so many that it feels convoluted. And the show is really, really funny. Like, laugh out loud moments of funny. But it also can be very emotionally moving at times, which is more than I was expecting. Because, there are just some moments of pure, heartbreak and pure elation, and gave me a lot more, just emotionally speaking, than I thought it ever would. And, really, a few moments were giving me, man tears, almost, especially in the second season. But unfortunately, this season was not all good, so I do have to get into the negatives. And as strong as the characters are in the show, the actual plot of this season is thin as hell. Season 1 had a very clear through line from episode to episode and an overall objective for the season. And season 2 just doesn't. It kind of feels like it goes from just episode to episode with very minimal connective tissue, and the pacing of this season is just terrible. The ending in particular feels very rushed. Like, in the final 3 episodes, because there are 8 episodes in the season, episodes 6 and 7 feel like that should have been the plot of the entire season, was what occurs in these 2 episodes. And so it just feels like it blows through a lot of things right at the end, instead of letting it breathe and letting us kind of sit and react to these things. But it just ends up feeling very rushed and lackluster. But the end of the season is where I did want to talk about spoilers, so I'll give the final grade after the spoiler talks. Like I said, I'll have a description down below that's kind of notifying you when the spoilers are over, so you can jump forward if you don't want to have it spoiled. And I do recommend that you don't, because it is a fun watch, even with my criticisms of the show. But that is your spoiler warning, so we're going to go spoilers in 3, 2, 1. So when Peacemaker decides to go live in the alternate dimension where his brother and father are alive and love him, and all the citizens love him, this is when the pacing issues of the show really start to present themselves. The whole season has been slowly, and I mean slowly, building up to this point. Like, you knew it was going to happen at some point, that he was going to want to go live here because things seemed so much better for him. And he's there for maybe half an episode before the 11th Street kids, the gang from the first season, shows up, and it's revealed that this is an Earth where the Nazis won World War II and ended up taking over the whole Earth, which I guess would make this Earth X, though I don't believe they ever officially state it in the show, so who knows. But from the comic books, it would be Earth X. This is a known thing in DC lore. And so they figure out that this is a Nazi planet about halfway through this episode, and they immediately are trying to escape, which makes sense. And Peacemaker and Harcourt have a few very touching moments, while they're fighting other people and escaping, something that I was not expecting. But they and the rest of the entire group is trying to rush back to their own dimension with the assistance from Earth X Dimension's vigilante, and they're trying to escape. And on their way out, there are some misunderstandings, because it appears that Economos has broken into Peacemaker's dad's house. So his dad has him tied up, and he gets killed by Vigilante, who is just completely misunderstanding the situation, as Augie was going to let them go peacefully, even despite Peacemaker's brother Keith having all of these objections, and Vigilante just jumps through a window and kills him. And it's kind of a heartbreaking moment for Peacemaker. Even though his dad was a piece of shit from the universe he was in, just having to watch his dad die and seeing the heartbreak on his brother, like Key's face. It's a sad moment, but it's frustrating because, I don't know, Vigilante just wasn't understanding and just made everything worse. And so Keith, he attacks Peacemaker as he's understandably upset that his brother from this universe is dead. And Eagly and the gang fuck him up, which it looks like they're getting ready to kill him, like they're holding him, they're stabbing him, like Eagly's biting at him, and this ends up like breaking Peacemaker emotionally, and he kind of falls apart and starts to blame himself for all the deaths that have occurred around him, and it just breaks his spirit. And John Cena's acting here is really good. Like, you feel very kind of heartbroken for this character, but they end up getting back to their own dimension, and they step outside where Argus has come to arrest them because they can track the interdimensional door. And so Peacemaker walks outside, tosses the device to him, and Rick Flag shows up and they arrest Peacemaker. And while Peacemaker is in jail, he refuses to see guests. And then even when he gets bailed out, he runs away with Eagly. He doesn't tell anyone where he's going. And it's to show how broken he is. But throughout the final episode, it just kind of keeps flashing to Peacemaker being on his own. And it feels like Peacemaker is mostly sidelined in the series finale of his own show. And this is the series finale, not a season finale. They've already concluded that we will see these characters again going forward, but it's not going to be like Peacemaker season 3. Peacemaker is done. So this is the series finale. And honestly, it feels like this final episode was tacked on just to set up things in the future of the DCU, because it's mostly focused on Argus using the dimensional door to find a alternate dimension to imprison superpowered beings, which is what Lex was proposing and Rick Flag went along with in the Superman movie, and they're just trying to still figure out a way to do that. And they end up finding it, and you do get some fun scenes and interactions with the characters, but it doesn't seem to serve the show. It seems to be exclusively put in there to serve the DCU going forward, which I can appreciate in a certain way, but I don't know, this is a series finale, but after they've discovered this prison planet, our main group, the 11th Street Kids, are able to kind of find Peacemaker and lift his spirits. Peacemaker and Harcourt start dating, and then the 11th Street Kids and Judo Master Bordeaux, I believe that was her name, Bordeaux, who's a cyborg that was introduced this season, and Flurry, who is easily the best new character of the show that was introduced this season. I loved him. I thought he was so funny, but they all kind of branch off and start their own agency called Checkmate, which I'm excited for. I'm excited to see it in the DCU going forward and kind of see how they do it, because Checkmate's a pretty fun organization in the comics. So, we'll see how that goes going forward. But in terms of the show, it shows them step outside this building after they have it all set up, and it just says Checkmate on the front. And suddenly, Peacemaker is, they would say arrested, but they are kidnapped. He's kidnapped by Argus and Rick Flag, and Rick Flag leaves him in their prison dimension that they found as revenge for Peacemaker killing his son, which has been, Rick Flag's motivation the entire season. But literally all of that from them like finding Peacemaker, lifting his spirits, getting all their lives back on track, and then him getting thrown into this prison literally all happens in about maybe a span of like 5 to 7 minutes, and then the entire series ends on a cliffhanger with Peacemaker being left alone in this alternate dimension, and you can hear like monsters and creatures making fucked up sounds in the background, and then credits. And I don't know, this is a series finale, and to end a series on a cliffhanger like this, even though we are going to see more going forward, it just feels so disappointing, and like it lacks any type of satisfaction that you would get from a season or series finale. And it feels like all of Peacemaker's character growth in this season is just sort of wasted. Like, what was it for? He's still on his own and can't escape his past. So what was the fucking point? I don't know. I really was very, very let down by this season finale. And then just beyond that, we get to the end of the episode, and I start thinking that this season also just doesn't have a clear goal like Project Butterfly. There's nothing like that they're trying to stop, and there's really no clear antagonist. I mean, you have Rick Flag as an antagonist to Peacemaker, but it's not like the team is trying to stop Rick Flag and battle him. And then even when they're leaving the Nazi planet, it's not like they're trying to help free that planet or stop the Nazis or anything like that. Like, there is no direct confrontation for this show. Season 2 really is all about the characters, which I appreciate and enjoy, but when you reflect on it, it just feels, because it doesn't have that goal or antagonist, this season really lacks action and just sort of ends without any real resolution. So, I don't know, just very disappointing for me when I got to the end, and why I wanted to take a few days to kind of reflect on how I felt about the season as a whole, because for a big chunk of it, I really was enjoying it more than season 1, and the way the last couple episodes go just absolutely killed it for me, which I believe I actually said in my Peacemaker review of, I'm enjoying this more than season 1, it just has to nail the ending, and it unfortunately didn't. So, didn't. Okay, so spoilers over. Overall, I really still did enjoy this season despite some issues that I had, and in some ways I enjoyed it more than season 1. But the way the last few episodes go really brought it down for me, especially when you think of it as a series finale and not just a season finale. But I do still recommend you check out the entire show. I think you'll have a good time, because these characters are so much fun, and the multiversal aspects of the show are pretty great, and I can see some potential going forward in the DCU. I would say I would give this season, I'll go an 8.8 out of 10. Like, it's not bad by any means. It's just got certain aspects that are more disappointing than I would like them to be. So I have this season, like I said, an 8.8 out of 10. I believe I gave the first season a 9.3 out of 10. So I guess for the show overall, I'll give it a 9.2 out of 10, just because of how strong of a 9.3 season 1 is, and really the 8.8 grade just comes from disappointment. But overall, I do think the show is worth watching. So 9.2, maybe a 9.1 out of 10, but a very solid A- show. And check it out if you haven't. The streaming numbers have not been great, and kind of bums me out because I do think this show deserves more love. It's some of the best work that James Gunn has ever done, and I am hoping that we do get to see these characters going forward in their own show, maybe called Checkmate, because it's a really fun just ensemble that James Gunn has built here. So fingers crossed that we get more of them as this team and not just as like side characters and cameos in the DCU going forward. But if you've seen season 2, let me know what you thought. How did it compare to season 1? Which did you like better? How would you rank it amongst the DCU projects? We have Creature Commandos, Superman, and Peacemaker season 2, and I guess a little bit of Peacemaker season 1, but I don't really know how that it all technically fits into the continuity anymore. But like I said, let me know down below. I'm going to have a review up for the third book in the Darth Bane trilogy coming up for you shortly, so hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next one.